This picture's actually taken a few weeks before I spent the night at the stones. It's taken with my back to the railings, with the stones behind me, looking to the west as the sun sets. It's been going on a long time, and it's going to take a long time to tell, but especially in the few weeks previous, I felt a kind of building pressure. I think, due to the fact that I'm in my 40s now, my early 40s, and I knew I wanted to tell this story, like I've said before, not after the fact, if you like, when I've perhaps, I don't know, I feel that there is not necessarily a complete, conclusion to be made. I'll always be the person that I am, and I will always, if I can, I will, I don't plan to go too far. I want to stay in contact with the land and maintain that relationship and learn more. But I think as you get into later life, there's something about the adventurous quality of one's life. Perhaps before the age of, 55 or so. We're still very much in the fire of it, So yeah, we've got this picture taken looking west, and this one also looking west, standing, in front of the doorway, if you like. Apparently, this is the the entrance to what would have been a like a huge long barrow type structure. So almost nothing is known about it, really. I mean, even that date, it's just a rough guess, isn't it? But the fact that it is aligned east-west is something. I can tell you that, I do strongly agree that it's, a burial structure. That, this place has something to do with death and the ancestors. There's no doubt in my mind. Anyway, getting back to, obviously you've just listened to me in the rain, spending the night there. It's important not to get carried away, not to get wrapped up in self-delusion or a kind of hero complex or anything. Because let's face it, it's kind of nuts, but, I'm one of the few people I think that's able to handle this kind of thing and stay objective enough, So, anyway, I sod off home. Couldn't sleep that night, wide awake. Ended up sleeping in the early hours of the morning. Everything kind of got hazy. I lost the whole day after. Moving on to the next day. Oh, don't ask me what. Last night. Actually, saying that, when I fell asleep the day before, there was a kind of slippage into what we loosely call the astral. I could see a huge kind of blackness that was, I was able to discern it as a kind of flock of black birds, most likely crows. A shadowy black figure. Because, this is, I kind of see this place as a nexus point. There's more than one thing going on. There's a lot of, spirit world activity going on. So something was talking to me, something was aware of me. Kind of very sort of male, black, shadowy figure which was somehow trying to communicate that it didn't necessarily have a fixed name or identity. It was very much a being in potential, perhaps lost, trapped. Who knows, right? Not much more than that, really. But going on to last night, now that's when it starts to begin. You see, my intention was to open the gate. I sent a message to my friend. I said, look, mate, 7 years ago we knocked on the door and we were answered. Now it's time to open the gate. And by that I mean to take up the invitation to spend the night at her house, if you like. Fucking hell. See, this is what I'm talking about. The most massive fucking bee just flew into the window right at that moment. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, can you? Go on, piss off. Oh, where am I? Are we back? Are we still recording? Are we still recording? I think so. Yeah, anyway, animals, you get a lot of signs and symbols come your way from the natural world. Talk about that another time. Not that I'm saying that was, but the timing was perfect. Definitely have to keep this video now. Yeah, last night, let me go back there, It's so vague. It's so vague. Ancestors. A map. Like a black and white map drawn out of, I guess, England. Like a kind of aerial view. Answers to questions, like a notion that the questions had been heard and perhaps there might be answers forthcoming. Death, the smell of death, like perhaps many, many bodies laid out as the crows, feed on them. Like I've said before, I'm going to take the credit here, by this. That's why I'm releasing this video, because I've spoken a little bit to other people and I need to, not let my hard work, not let anyone else get the credit for, my experience and my hard work and my dedication to trying to understand and find out more. She is the Morrigan, by a different name. It's the same archetypal death goddess. Her symbol is predominantly the crow and sometimes the magpie. You see, her colours are black and white. And then sometimes we get a notion of red hair. I've only seen that once, and I'm not sure if that was her, so I'm not going to include that strictly. Black and white are her colours, And when she comes, she is blinding white light that you cannot face directly. She approaches from behind. I'll talk about that experience later. Anyway, this dream, it's, you see, there's dreams, and then it's like you're slipping into a different dimension or a different frequency, if you like, and communication takes place, and then that merges with a kind of dream state. So I felt the stirrings of, or the notion of her, like she's not quite fully awake yet. She comes awake, I'm not sure exactly when, like I said, full moon, rain, darkness, winter. Around the time of the winter solstice, she comes fully alive. So I had a notion of her kind of sleeping, but vaguely aware of my little, night, the invitation being taken up to see, this is the thing, the more time you spend just sitting at these stones with, I'm not saying it could happen to everyone, because some people are just like a brick, right? But if you're intuitive, if you've got those faculties, the more time you spend around these stones, it opens you up psychically. And I know that now because I've been there enough times, and I've seen what happens in my dreams in the following days from spending a few hours there. So this is the longest, apart from being there with my friend, this is the longest I've spent there on my own. And yeah, the gate is now open for communication. It's not going to be quick, it's not going to be precise, it's going to take a long time. I'm going to have to put in more time, more effort, but we have an opening. It's on the edge of my mind. I'm trying to go back, like what? I feel like there was something else, but this happens a lot. You feel like there was something else that was important. It's more a notion of the intelligence of the place, connecting with one's own in a very visceral sense of exchange and communication. And I wasn't hanging on for that. I'd done what I needed to do, and then I was just thinking about other things. So, but that's how these things play out. They tend to play out later on. You make the gesture. It's a very magical thing. You make the gesture and then you forget about it, get on with your life, and then the surprises come. We'll be talking a lot more about magic in the future. That's a strong element of this whole story and experience. I've got work to do. Back to normal suburban reality now, cleaning windows and being jolly and towing the line. I'm trying to think, what was that? What was it? On the edge. On the edge. Journey. A map. Ancestors, sleeping goddess, staring, vaguely aware, crows, dead body. Now you have to understand, like, some of this shit is pretty sinister. It's pretty, it's just not for everyone, and but you can't escape the notion of that's what this place is, that's what it is. So it's not going to be all, fluffy angel stories, if you know what I'm saying. Okay, I think that will wrap this one up for now. So my name's Broderick Wallace. I am the window cleaner. I'm here to tell my story, and through telling my story I will shed light on and tell the ongoing story of my relationship with she who is widely known as the ghost of Bluebell Hill, who I know as the goddess of Bluebell Hill. I don't know, you know, about accidents, and there's a lot of accidents, you know. Built a road for a sacred site, you know, stretching many miles, sacred area. Drive down there in the morning, you see the mist. It feels special, it feels ancient. Burrowed under the earth with that train line, God knows what else. Upset the land, upset the spirits of the land, upset her. There's a lot going on in that place, there's a lot going on. But she is at the top of the food chain, if you like. She is a goddess of death who comes alive in the winter. She is analogous to the Celtic Morrigan, but her roots go way back to Neolithic, perhaps even earlier. And if you want to talk about roots, I mean, you know, talking about that primal archetypal darkness, blackness, the on the Kabbalah you would call it Binah. You know, we're talking primal goddess. Get the sense of her. Actually, no, I can't. I mean, I'm going to allude to it, obviously, you know, bits and pieces in this first video. I'm going to explain it all in detail as I go, but through dream visions I was shown a procedure that I had to go through to initiate myself, which I carried out. And then I had the sensation of an invitation that I should go at the most darkest, terrible time in my whole life, the most difficult time in my whole life, that I should go there. And I can tell you, when you connect with the level of sadness in that place, there's a resonance between me and her on that level, and sometimes it's almost too much. Don't ask me why exactly, but she reaches out to hold my hand. She comes to me when I'm sick. She's always close by, but it's difficult because it's only those few months of the year that she's really alive. And it takes specific kind of mental states and gestures to extract even the most vaguest, you know, experience. But after many years of this, there is enough now to begin, you know, kind of communicating what's going on. So I don't know if did I talk about Sean Tudor's book? I'm not sure if I did, because I've made a few videos and deleted them, so I should say I read Sean Tudor's book, Ghost of Bluebell Hill and Other Road Ghosts, only just a couple of months ago. It kind of tallies with a lot that I've discovered myself, but obviously his is more objective, mine is more a subjective experience. I know her personally, you know, as far as I know, I'm the only person that's seen her more than once. My friend, who will send me the name that he wants to go by in these videos, I've chosen the name Broderick Wallace. Obviously that's not my real name. She's definitely around in the house in the winter, and had a lot of experiences in the house because I'm kind of close by. It's not a long way to come, you know. And anyway, bumped into Neil Arnold, like local investigator, you know, says he's been investigating Bluebell Hill case for, you know, 25 years, etc. I had a long conversation with him. I didn't reveal as much as what I'm revealing now, but there was enough whereby, because the guy's an author and that, you know, don't get me wrong, like a really nice guy, and I'm sure you'll probably see this one day, Neil, so hi mate, you know, much respect, but I'm sure you'll respect the fact that I need to, you know, before anyone else like yourself or whatever starts putting too many clues together, especially from the information that I've given you, I need to make it clear that this begins with me, that this is my discovery, if you like. This is you know, I hate to say, you know, oh, she chose me to tell her story, but I do have a strong inclination that that's what she wants. So she has revealed much to me, and I hope if I can remain respectful and close by, and you know, there will be more to come in the future. Many details to go into in later videos. Like I say, I have to tell my story in order to tell her story, so you will understand why things came about, the kind of person that I am. I want to leave that also for my children so they understand, you know. And also because I don't want to see these beautiful lands turned into some fucking goddamn, you know, housing estate complex or something with, you know, Kit's Coty just, you know, in some glass box in the middle of it, yeah. Because I tell you what, you know, if you did that, there's always going to be a bad vibe, because it's disrespectful, you know. It would not be a pleasant place to live unless you were specifically in tune with it. And I don't want to see buildings of any contemporary religions erected nearby in the landscape. If there's any way I can kind of contribute to a notion of how sacred this place is, how special it is, and how all of the Neolithic sites around the UK and indeed the world, how precious they are, and for intuitive, you know, people with some kind of, you know, psychic capacity, they are a mystery to be unravelled, and a curiosity, you know, a treasure. Because in this modern world, for all the, you know, through all the you know, the benefits that we have, we are so disconnected. We are so lost in consumerism. You know, human lifetime, blink of an eye, and then you're gone. Some people think that's all it is, just the end. I know it's not. We do have a soul of some sort. There is a spirit world. And it's teeming with all kinds of life possibilities, dimensions, you know, whatever you want to, however you want to address that. Through shamanism, magic, psychedelics, it's accessible. And there are certain places where that is more possible. There are special places in the landscape, gateways. Kitskoti is one of them. And as you know, testified by the local legends and all the stories of the ghost and all the sightings and all this kind of stuff, you know, the question has been raised, you know, obviously by Sean in his book, and like I say, I only read that a couple of months ago, so I'd already come to my conclusions that she is a goddess long before, and was pleasantly surprised. But obviously he was, and if you're watching this, Sean, hi mate, much respect, the book, fantastic. Shame that it turned up with most of the first few chapters missing, but luckily, you know, due to a printing error, but luckily I was able to go online and read those for free, so I was able to piece it all together and read the whole book. And that is an absolutely stellar piece of work and scholarship. And but you know, she's not, she ain't using, you know, Greek archetypes and all this kind of thing. Hecate, it gets you a little way there, you're on the right track, but it's back through the Celtic and the Neolithic where you're going to get closer to the, you know, if you like, the people that have worshipped her, that have known her, and their kind of the building of kind of an egregore, her character, you know, her shape, her form. I don't know, you know, whether she started off as a real person or whether she is purely, you know, an egregore generated from a primal truth. Or there's evidence for, you know, there's different things I've experienced that might suggest it could be both or either way. So this is something that I want to look deeper into. Obviously, with the Battle of the Medway taking nearby, this place has a long history of death and loss, and ain't that fucking cheerful. So I'm here to say, I'll say it again, sorry for all the waffling. Subscribe to this channel if you want to hear this ongoing story. I will waffle on, but there is so much. I will tell my story. Through telling my story, we'll be telling her story in parallel. And I hope to leave this behind, and I'm doing this, you know, anonymously for, you know, various reasons. Even if it seems like the ramblings of a madman, I know it's not, so that's good enough for me. I know I'm telling the truth, and I feel a calling to tell this story and to investigate further and see, you know, how much more I can come up with. And it's been a long time, you know, good 7 years or so before I've decided to even begin. So there's a lot behind me, but, you know, my friend is strongly involved, you know, yet to send me the name that he wants to use. So perhaps for the third time I'll try to wrap this up and say my name is Broderick Wallace. I am the window cleaner. I am stating forthrightly that the entity on Bluebell Hill, strongly connected with Kitskoti and all the ghost sightings, is a primal death goddess going back through the Celtic and the Neolithic, who is fully equatable, and, you know, she is basically the, you know, the Morrigan is another name, you know, different, close by but different area, you know what it's like with gods and goddesses, just a little bit of local regional variation, but that's basically what she is. Death goddess, colours are black and white. Symbol is the crow, and very often too the magpie, carrion birds, you know, which strongly relates to the notion of perhaps sky burials being carried out in the area. A long history of death and sorrow in these lands. Obviously you've got your long barrow there. Perhaps the bones of the ancestors would have been laid out in there. Perhaps, you know, severed heads, that kind of thing. It's complicated, it's interesting, a little bit dangerous, and sometimes a little bit frightening, but I must admit, I do feel a strong friendship and a strong bond. So sometimes if I do get a little bit like, oh fuck, you know, I'm walking through the darkness here, or you know, I'm at home and I can feel the presence in the house, and then, you know, I start, you know, seeing visions as I'm falling off to sleep. There's a strong sense of respect and love, and her trusting in me to communicate this with true deep respect and love for the land, for this country, for the history. And okay, we'll leave it there. This is the first video then, to be released on Halloween 2019, an appropriate date, as that's the time when the ancestors, you know, walk the earth, if you like. So I'll be busy that night, but I won't be too busy to upload this. And we have a beginning, a very waffly, long beginning, darting from this and that, but put it this way, making these videos is not going to be like, it's not an effort, like something that you have to be on all the time. I can disappear for a little while, I can come back, I can also plan out some stuff, I can write out some stuff, you know, I will share art and music and all kinds of things. So there was never going to be a perfect moment, really. So if I just make this start, then that gets the ball rolling. And all I'll say now in closing is thank you very much for listening, and